Welcome to Midnight Whispers. Tonight, we step into a story that blurs the line between guilt and memory. I woke up to find myself in a small, dimly lit interrogation room where the fluorescent lights buzzed like angry insects above my head. And as I blinked my eyes open, I realized I was sitting on a metal chair with my hands trembling slightly against a cold steel table. And I didn't know why I was there or how I had got there. All I could see was my own reflection in the large mirror across from me, showing a pale, frightened woman in her 30s who looked nothing like the person I thought I was just yesterday. And as my mind tried to piece together fragments of memory, I caught sight of something that made my stomach turn: my clothes, stained with dark red blotches that looked an awful lot like dried blood, and the faint smell of iron clung to my skin like guilt I couldn't wash away. I tried to remember. I really did. But the last clear memory I had was laughing at my birthday dinner, surrounded by the few friends I trusted, the sound of glasses clinking and music echoing faintly. Then a blackout, a void of nothingness, no faces, no words, just black. And now here I was, in a place that felt more like a nightmare than reality, when suddenly the door creaked open, and a man in a crisp white shirt and dark tie stepped in, his eyes cold, his expression unreadable. He set a folder on the table, then sat down slowly, folding his hands as if he had all the time in the world, and in a voice calm yet sharp enough to cut through bone, he said, "Where did you hide the body, Layla?" And in that moment, my blood froze solid. My mouth went dry, and I stammered, "What body?" But he didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned back, studying me like I was some experiment gone wrong. And that silence stretched out so long it felt like it could break me, because deep inside, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what came next. All I knew was that nothing about this felt like my life anymore. The officer opened the folder, sliding a glossy photograph across the table, and when I looked down, my vision blurred, my breath caught in my throat, because it was Sarah, my best friend since college, her lifeless body lying on the floor, her eyes half open, staring into something beyond. And for a second, I couldn't breathe. I just stared at that picture, shaking my head over and over, whispering no, 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 because it couldn't be real. It couldn't be her. We'd been together just last night, laughing, drinking, talking about how turning 30 didn't have to mean getting old. And I could still hear her voice in my head, teasing me about my fear of being alone. But the more I looked at that photo, the more a part of me began to fracture, like my brain was splitting in two, one part screaming that I was innocent, and the other whispering that maybe I'd done something terrible and just couldn't face it. I looked up at him and said, "This has to be a mistake. I didn't do this." And he didn't even flinch. He just said, "The neighbors heard screaming from your apartment around midnight." And his tone wasn't accusing. It was confident, like he already knew the ending to this story. He was just waiting for me to realize it too. I looked at my wrist then and saw a thin red scratch, raw, painful, like fingernails had dug into my skin. And I tried to remember how it got there, but my mind was fog, spinning, looping, slipping away every time I tried to grasp it. And I started to wonder if maybe I'd hurt Sarah by accident. Maybe there had been an argument, something small that spiraled out of control. Or maybe someone else had been there. Maybe someone wanted it to look like I did it. Because if I had killed her, why couldn't I remember a thing? Hours passed, maybe minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. The clock on the wall ticked, but the sound didn't feel real. Time itself had lost meaning, and I kept replaying his words in my head. Where did you hide the body? As if the answer might suddenly appear in the empty spaces of my memory. I remembered Sarah's laughter, the sound of a wine bottle uncorking, the shimmer of candlelight on the table, and then something sharp, a scream, a crash, but it faded like smoke before I could hold on to it. I told him everything I could remember, every detail, even the smallest ones, hoping something would make sense. But all it did was make me sound guilty, and I saw it in his eyes, the look that said he'd already decided who I was. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't a friend. I was a suspect, maybe even a murderer. And in a strange way, part of me started to believe it too, because guilt has a way of filling the blanks your memory leaves behind. And when you're trapped between truth and fear, your mind becomes its own prison. I started crying, asking to see Sarah's body, to see proof that it was really her. And that's when he said something that broke me even more. She wasn't just found in your apartment, Layla. She was found in your bedroom, on your bed. And that image, that idea, shattered me from the inside out, because I couldn't imagine something more horrifying than waking up next to your best friend's body and not remembering how it got there. When they left me alone in the room, I looked at my reflection again, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the person staring back. My eyes looked wild, haunted, like someone who'd seen too much, or maybe done too much, and my thoughts started spiraling into places they shouldn't go. Because if I didn't remember killing her, did that mean another version of me did? Could I really have lost control, blacked out, done something monstrous without knowing? I thought back to the last few weeks, the stress, the anxiety, the sleepless nights. And I remembered the doctor mentioning something about dissociative episodes, saying I needed rest. But I never took it seriously, because how could I when my life felt fine? But maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'd been unraveling slowly, piece by piece, and no one noticed, not even me. And that thought scared me more than anything, that our own minds can betray us without warning, turning us into strangers in our own skin. I pressed my palms against the table, whispering to myself, I'm not a killer, over and over like a prayer. But it didn't sound convincing anymore, not even to me, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes, red, glass breaking, someone screaming my name. And though I didn't know if those were memories or just my imagination, they felt real enough to hurt. Eventually, the officer returned with a psychologist, a calm woman with kind eyes who spoke softly, asking me questions about my past, my sleep, my stress. And I told her everything: the headaches, the strange dreams, the times I felt like I was watching myself from outside my own body. And she nodded, taking notes, before saying words that felt both relieving and terrifying. Layla, you might be experiencing a dissociative fugue state. Your mind could be protecting you from trauma by blocking your memory. And when she said that, something inside me broke open, because if she was right, then maybe I wasn't evil, maybe I was sick, and maybe what happened to Sarah wasn't premeditated at all. Maybe it was an accident, or something triggered me, and that thought became my only comfort in that room. But the truth still haunted me, because even if I didn't remember it, even if my mind had buried the night beneath layers of defense, Sarah was still gone, and nothing I said or forgot would bring her back. And when the psychologist asked me what I saw in the mirror across the table, I told her the truth. I see someone I don't know, someone who could love and destroy in the same breath. And that confession hung in the air like smoke, impossible to ignore. Days turned into weeks, and though I stayed under observation, they never found solid evidence that I had planned anything. But they never found anyone else either. And in the end, the case was left in a gray area, like me, half memory, half void, half monster, half victim. And even now, as I record this for Midnight Whispers, I still wake up some nights drenched in sweat, hearing Sarah's voice, calling my name from somewhere behind that mirror, whispering, "You remember more than you think." And maybe she's right. Maybe the truth is still hiding in the cracks of my mind, waiting for the day I'm strong enough to face it. Or maybe the human brain is kind enough to bury certain horrors forever. I don't know anymore. All I know is that guilt is the loudest ghost of all. And no matter how much therapy or medication or time passes, that interrogation room lives inside me, frozen at 3:07 a.m., where detective's calm voice still asks, "Where did you hide the body, Layla?" And I still don't have an answer.